Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History. I'm here with my very special guest, Thomas BALCERSKI. Of course, you guys know him if you watch my channel. He's been on a couple live streams with me. I interviewed him about his wonderful book on James Buchanan and William Rufus King. And today, we are here because we're actually in Paterson, New Jersey at the Green Lawn Cemetery. And behind us, that is the tomb of our 24th Vice President of the United States, Garret Hobart. Got some cool things to tell you about Garret Hobart. He's a New Jersey guy, so this is right up my alley. It's a lot of fun, got a lot of cool things to show you. But first, before we do that and get into Garret Hobart, what I need you guys to do is hit subscribe down below, leave us a comment, questions, all that things. Leave us a like and a thumbs up, that'd be great. And of course, the little notification bell, hit that so you can be notified when we do release a new video, which is, and if Henry was here, he would let you know, it's every single week. So here we go, our next Vice Presidential Series installment, looking at the 24th Vice President, Garret Augustus Hobart. Here we go, can't wait, really excited here with Thomas. And this is Dead History. Hey guys, TJ back with you, here with Dead History, and I'm here with Thomas. So yes, this is the mausoleum, the tomb of Garret Hobart, our 24th Vice President of the United States, here in Paterson, New Jersey. So some cool things. Also, his wife, Jenny, is in here entombed with him. They are both New Jersey natives. And as the camera shakes on us, they're New Jersey natives. Both born in New Jersey, both born in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Hobart was born in Long Branch, New Jersey. And his wife, Jenny, somewhere in Monmouth County on a farm, maybe Freehold, New Jersey area. Not quite sure, but both from Monmouth County, New Jersey. So really cool stuff. Also, this is probably, it is the first of the big mausoleum tombs for a vice president. The very first. And he's what, the fourth?
We think the fourth.
We think the fourth vice president to die in office. And this is definitely the biggest tomb. Now, William Rufus King, he has a tomb, but it's not this large, down in Selma, Alabama. So yeah, as the vice president who died in office, this is also the first of the big giant mausoleums for a vice president who died in office. So some pretty cool things to tell you. We got a lot of great bonus footage, right? We were down in Long Branch earlier today, Thomas and I. We're going to show you a lot of cool things regarding Hobart. So here you go. You did the likes, you did the subscribes, you did all that stuff, the comments and questions. If Henry was here, he'd tell you to go get the popcorn and the pretzels and the soda and all that great stuff. Because here we go, our next Vice Presidential Series installment, the 24th Vice President, Garret Hobart. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey guys, welcome. TJ here with Dead History, and welcome to our next Vice Presidential Series installment as we're taking a look at the 24th Vice President of the United States, Garret Augustus Hobart. So yeah, Garret Hobart this week. This is definitely a treat for me. As you saw from the introduction, I definitely have some very cool bonus footage coming up for you guys with Garret Hobart. Obviously, I did some things with Thomas BALCERSKI, who's been a guest on my channel. I've done live streams with him, grading the U.S. presidents, and then, of course, doing the interview with him. Originally when I first met him, it was based because I found his information about his book, and I decided, I have to interview this gentleman. His book, of course, Bosom Friends, The Intimate World of James Buchanan and William Rufus King. That is Thomas BALCERSKI's book. A wonderful book. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. But he's a professor. He's a historian. And just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to presidential history and just anything historical. Thomas BALCERSKI is excellent. So really glad I got to do some of this stuff with him. And of course, Garret Hobart was a New Jersey guy, New Jersey native, born and raised here, died here in New Jersey, buried here in New Jersey. Of course, myself being from New Jersey. So this is, and you guys are going to soon find out, he was actually born in a town that literally was 5 minutes from where I was, not born, but where I grew up. And even the town I was born in, it's maybe only 10 minutes or so from there. So literally my backyard is where Garret Hobart came from and lived a lot of his childhood. So it definitely hit close to home. Plus, he's the last of the vice presidents, really, that has a real big New Jersey connection. So this is kind of the last one for me to really... that hits close to home, so to speak. So I really wanted to do a lot for Garret Hobart. Plus, as Thomas BALCERSKI and I were discussing, Garret Hobart's kind of like either you can consider him the last or the first of, the vice presidents. The vice presidency, of course, took on a role for many, many years of kind of just like this. I think one quote is it was like a fifth wheel of the executive branch or something to that effect. It was almost like a very forgotten office and a very forgotten role in America, in the United States. Hobart either was the last to kind of have that forgotten role, or he was the first to have kind of more of an important role. That actually mattered. And you'll learn more about that as we go on here today and tomorrow. So I want to just say, stay tuned for this because there's going to be a lot of footage here with Garret Hobart. These two videos, one of them might be 40 minutes or so, and the other one might be an hour and a half, honestly. So just stay tuned because there's going to be a lot. So here we go. Flying solo. Henry's not with me. But let's just jump right in and take a look at our 24th vice president in this next vice presidential series installment, Garret Hobart. For the first time in my recollection, and the last for that matter, the vice president was recognized as somebody. As a part of the administration, as a part of the body over which he presided. Veteran newspaper correspondent. It seems startling that someone who never held prior office outside of a state legislature could be nominated and elected vice president of the United States, as was Garret Augustus Hobart in 1896. By the time convention delegates chose the last 19th century vice president, they had come to regard that office as a little more than a fifth wheel to the executive coach. The nomination was, in their view, simply a device for balancing the ticket, either by ideology or by region. Gus Hobart, an Easterner chosen to run with a Middle Westerner, William McKinley of Ohio, completely shared McKinley's conservative political philosophy. With warm feelings for Hobart, President McKinley decided to rescue the vice presidency from its low estate. McKinley so embraced the vice president as his friend, associate, and confidant that Hobart's home on Lafayette Square became known as the Little Cream White House, and Hobart as the assistant president. Youth. Hobart was the descendant of a long line of clergymen with a family tree that dated back to the Massachusetts Bay Colony of the early 17th century. In 1841, his father had left New England to open a primary school in Long Branch, New Jersey. There, on June 3rd of 1844, Garret Augustus Hobart was born. Young Hobart attended his father's school and then went to a boarding school. As a member of the Reformed Church, he attended Rutgers College, which was then under that church's control. He graduated at the top of his class in 1863. Although the nation was deeply engaged in the Civil War, Hobart did not join the Union Army. Instead, he studied law in Paterson, New Jersey, under the tutelage of Socrates Tuttle, a childhood friend of his father's. He became a lawyer in 1866, and on July 21st of 1869, he married Tuttle's daughter, Jenny. Hobart's family had long been Democrats, but marriage into the Republican Tuttle household converted the young man to the Grand Old Party. Not a conventional politician. After service as clerk of a grand jury, Hobart was elected a judge in Paterson in 1868. In 1871, after his father-in-law became mayor, Hobart was appointed to the post of city council. The following year, he went to the state assembly, rising speedily to become speaker in 1874. In 1876, he won election to the state senate, which chose him as Senate President in 1881, according him the distinction of being the first person to head both houses of the New Jersey legislature. Despite these achievements, Hobart was no politician in the conventional sense. He was not fond of standing in the public eye, a friend later assessed. He did not seek popularity by those methods, which usually evoke the applause and admiration of the multitude. He was not spectacular. A rotund, jovial, hospitable man, Hobart displayed much tact, charm, and ability to work with other people. These qualities, which made him an outstanding state legislator, should have helped him move up to the national legislature if it had not been for his increasingly lucrative law practice in New Jersey. The many banks and railroads among his clients made him wealthy, and he was loath to abandon his comfortable family life in New Jersey for the demands of a political career in Washington. The Hobart home, Carroll Hall, was reputedly the largest and most sumptuous in Paterson. Several times Hobart stood for the United States Senate, but never fought hard enough to win election from a state legislature in which he was immensely popular. He served instead as chairman of the state Republican Committee from 1880 to 1891 and as a member of the party's national committee. So what I really want to do is I want to really keep part 2 and possibly even a part 3 for Hobart. I want to keep that really strictly around his vice presidency and even his candidacy for vice presidency. So I want to really focus on Hobart's early life right now with this part 1. So I'm going to read you some more about his early life. Garret Augustus Hobart came from an old American family reaching back to the 17th century New England and New York. His father's ancestors arrived in Massachusetts in the 1630s, where several Hobarts served as Puritan ministers. Garret Hobart was a distant cousin of both John Henry Hobart, founder of Hobart College, later Hobart and William Smith Colleges in upstate New York, and Federalist U.S. Senator John S. Hobart. Abel Hobart, his great-grandfather, moved to the northern New Hampshire frontier in 1786 and raised a large family. One of Abel's grandsons, Addison Hobart, was Garret Hobart's father and a school teacher moving to Marlborough, New Jersey around 1840. On his mother's side were early New Amsterdam Dutch settlers, and his Presbyterian minister grandfather helped found Queen's College, later Rutgers. His mother, Sandra Vanderveer, was born Sarah, dyslexic a little bit there. His mother, Sarah Vanderveer, was born near the Monmouth Courthouse Revolutionary War battlefield. She married Addison Hobart in 1841, and they settled down in Long Branch, New Jersey. Here's what's very interesting about all of this. So yeah, the interesting thing about Hobart and his parents and everything, so his mom, where it says that she was born near the Monmouth Courthouse Revolutionary War battlefield. So that's actually the Battle of Monmouth battlefield. That's right in Freehold, New Jersey, not far from where I live. Been there many times. So pretty cool. And then Long Branch, New Jersey. I grew up in Eatontown, New Jersey. That's where I literally grew up the majority of my young life. And that's only about 10 minutes away from Long Branch, New Jersey. So all of this with Hobart literally happened in my backyard. I mean, literally. So very cool stuff. Reading some further things, on June 4th of 1844, Garret A. Hobart was born the middle child of 3 boys. According to his only biographer, Gus Hobart was an extremely bright child and was doted on by his mother. He briefly attended boarding school in Matawan, New Jersey, entered Rutgers College, and graduated near the top of his 1863 class, which is pretty cool. Hobart never, so here's some more stuff on him. Hobart never served in the Federal Army during the Civil War, even though he was easily old enough and did not suffer from major sickness until later in life. Instead, upon graduation, he devoted himself to legal studies. After a short stint as school teacher to help pay off school debt, Hobart studied law with the prominent Paterson, New Jersey attorney Socrates Tuttle, a friend of his father's. Tuttle's tutelage was important for several reasons. The Hobarts had always been Democrats, but Tuttle was a prominent Passaic County Republican. Friends warned Hobart's father that his son would be converted to another political faith at Paterson, and indeed, Hobart became a staunch Republican by the mid-1860s. In addition, Hobart soon fell in love with his teacher's daughter, Jenny Tuttle, whom he married in July of 1869. The pair had 2 children who survived past infancy: Fanny Beckwith, who was born in November of 1871, and Garret Augustus Jr., called Junior in the family, born August of 1884. Tuttle was a rising Paterson politician, and Hobart wisely followed his mentor and benefited greatly from Tuttle's beneficence. Garret Hobart was licensed to practice law in 1866 and served as grand jury clerk for Passaic County. The first job there was any money in for me was copying a pile of papers. He remembered, when I learned that my compensation would be 10 cents a foolscap page, I thought I was on the high road to wealth. When Tuttle became Paterson mayor in 1871, he appointed his son-in-law city council. A year later, he was elevated to county council. Hobart was a sharp lawyer, but he also enjoyed the bounty of family connections. Hobart always denied he was a politician. "I make politics my recreation," he once said, claiming he was primarily a businessman and attorney. This attitude was either extreme humility or vast understatement. However, since he was involved in New Jersey politics almost constantly between the early 1870s and the 1896 election. After only a few months as Passaic County Council in 1872, he ran successfully for the New Jersey Assembly, and in 1874, while still only 30 years old, he was unanimously chosen Assembly Speaker. By 1876, he was a state senator and acted as Senate President for the 1881-1882 sessions, making Hobart the first New Jersey politician to serve as presiding officer in both legislative branches, all before the age of 40. He attended every Republican National Convention after 1876, was chosen a New Jersey Republican State Committee member in 1880, and in 1884 joined the Republican National Committee as a New Jersey representative. He eventually left the state committee in 1891, as one writer put it, resigning only in order to indulge in the larger sport of national politics. He was now widely reported as the Republican leader of northern New Jersey and was nearly chosen U.S. Senator in 1883. He declined running for governor several times and was vice chairman of the Republican National Committee by 1896. Despite his curious denials, Hobart was no peripheral figure or dilettante in Gilded Age Republican politics. He was a central and very powerful one. As his political power grew, so did his wealth. At his death in 1899, Garret Hobart was a multi-millionaire with investments in an array of industries and syndicates. So yeah, most of that wealth came from his law practice. Hobart was not a courtroom attorney. In fact, he had a terrible speaking voice. While not lacking in self-confidence, he was singularly diffident in addressing an audience or pleading a case in court, his biographer recalled. So kind of lastly, I'm just reading from different sources, of course. Garret Augustus Hobart was born in Long Branch, New Jersey, to Addison Willard Hobart and the former Sophia Vanderveer. Addison Hobart descended from the early colonial settlers of New England. Many Hobarts served as pastors. Addison Hobart came to New Jersey to teach at a school in Bradevelt, New Jersey, a small hamlet in Marlborough Township. His mother was descended from 17th century Dutch settlers in New Amsterdam who had moved to Long Island and then to New Jersey. When Addison and Sophia Hobart married in 1841, they moved to Long Branch, where Addison founded an elementary school. Garret was born in Long Branch on June 3rd of 1844. 3 children survived infancy. Garret was the second of 3 boys. Hobart initially attended his father's school in Long Branch, and the family moved to Marlborough in the early 1850s, and he was sent to the village school. Childhood tales of the future vice president describe him as an excellent student in both day and Sunday school and a leader in boyhood sports. Recognizing his abilities, his father sent him to a well-regarded school in Freehold, but after a disagreement with the teacher, he refused to return. He then attended Middletown Point Academy, later known as the Glenwood Institute, a prominent boarding school in Matawan, New Jersey. Hobart graduated at age 15, and his parents thought he was too young to attend college. So he remained at home for a year to study and work part-time at the Bradevelt School, the same institution that employed his father. Hobart enrolled at Rutgers College in 1860. He graduated in 1863 and was ranked 3rd in his class. In later life, Hobart was a generous donor to Rutgers, received an honorary degree after becoming vice president, and was elected a trustee shortly before his death. So yeah, just so everyone knows, I'm using several different sources. I'm using the Senate.gov Vice President's articles. It's a book really written by Mark Hatfield. So I always use his reading from his. Then there's actually the book from the I believe it's the Purcell. I'm trying to look here. Just give me a second because I know it's a vice president book. Yeah, it's from L. Edward Purcell. It's called The Vice President's a Biographical Dictionary. So I'm taking some excerpts from that. I mean, you name it. I'm taking excerpts from an article actually written by Leonard Sculp. So that's another article that I'm referencing. I'm also referencing a wonderful article by Michael Connolly that was written that is just tremendous. It's absolutely just fascinating. Michael J. Connolly, who's actually a professor of history at Purdue University. So I'm obviously reading from his as well, his article about Hobart. So several different sources. So that's why I'm kind of just checking each one to see if there's anything more that, I want to speak about. Like I said, born in Long Branch, Garret Hobart attended elementary and preparatory schools before graduating third highest in his class with honors in mathematics and English from Rutgers College in 1863. He taught school for a short time before relocating to Paterson, New Jersey, where he studied law in the office of Socrates Tuttle, whose daughter Jenny he married in 1869, the year of his admission to the bar. Hobart became a counselor at law in 1871 and a master in chancery the following year. He advanced quickly in the fields of law, business, and politics. We all know this. Early in his career, Hobart developed interest in national politics. Of course, we said chairman of the New Jersey State Republican Committee, all those things that he did. A constructive moderate from an important eastern state, Hobart supported sound money principles, a protective tariff to safeguard American industry, expanded markets, development of transportation systems, and federal spending for projects of regional and national importance. He accepted the industrial United States and the ethic of the day. Eager to see the country grow, Hobart was a nationalist who possessed the emotional attitude for increased governmental action. The dogmas of localism, retrenchment, and anti-federalism were foreign to him as he embraced his party's growing nationalism and the rapid social and economic changes in the nation. In New Jersey, he represented an industrial, basically a bunch of business and agriculture and labor, and the professional middle class is really what he represented. And I'm not going to get too far into this because Hobart's political and business interests were intertwined. He regarded himself as a businessman who engaged in politics for recreation. In 1885, he assumed the presidency of the Passaic Water Company, a director of several banks, and a receiver for the New Jersey Midland Railroad and the First National Bank of Newark. Hobart earned a reputation for business and eventually having connections with 60 corporations. In the process, he accumulated a fortune and surfaced as a leading Republican of northern New Jersey. The practicing businessman and politician in 1895 secured the Republican gubernatorial nomination for his friend John W. Griggs and managed the campaign. Griggs' election ended a long reign of Democratic control and heralded a new era of Republican rule in the state of New Jersey. So he obviously, we said, after Rutgers, he taught to repay his loans. Hobart was young and in good health. He did not serve in the Union Army in the Civil War. We know about Socrates Tuttle, who took him in. We know about all that. Socrates Tuttle was influential in Paterson. We know all this. We said that. He became mayor, and then, of course, Hobart became part of the city council and then the state council. Hobart said of his involvement in public affairs, "I made politics my recreation." He devoted most of his time to a law practice. So there's kind of that. One reason for Hobart's success in both the private and public sectors was his genial personality. He worked well with others and was noted for tact and charm. Senator Mark Hatfield, in his book on American vice presidents, see that? One that I definitely am always using, suggests that these qualities would have made Hobart successful in Washington had he run for Congress. Hatfield states that the reason why Hobart chose not to move from state to national politics before 1896 was a reluctance to leave a comfortable life and successful law practice in Paterson. Instead, Hobart continued to involve himself in party politics. He was widely regarded as the northern New Jersey's most influential Republican. Beginning in 1876, he was a delegate to every Republican National Convention in his lifetime. He was chairman of the New Jersey Republican Committee. He was New Jersey's representative on the National Committee after 1884, and he rose to become vice chairman. Like I said, Hobart also, he served as president of the Paterson Railway Company, which ran the city's streetcars, and as a board member for other railroads. So he was very involved in politics statewide, some railroad companies, some banks, big in his law practice, of course. These are all things that Hobart really was very heavily involved in leading up to his time as before he became vice president. Okay, so I think that's pretty much going to do it. Everything else I'm kind of glancing over in some other article or two. It's pretty much the same thing. Plus, I'm sure we're going to even go over some of the, like legislature and, council stuff, probably a little bit again in part 2. So, that's pretty much it for part 1. That's going to lead us all the way up to basically the election of 1896, which is obviously the election in which William McKinley was elected, and of course Garret Hobart was elected vice president. So that's going to do it. Now stay tuned. There is definitely bonus footage. There's bonus footage of all sorts of things. So there's definitely bonus footage, though. There's bonus footage of some of the houses of Garret Hobart's from when he was young. You guys will see. I think you're really in for some nice treats. So stay tuned. There's bonus footage here for part 1, and then there will be bonus footage for part 2, and if there's a part 3, probably part 3 as well. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so very much for everything you guys do. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all the comments and questions. And I really hope you enjoyed this part 1, taking a look at our 24th Vice President of the United States, New Jersey's own Garret Augustus Hobart. Thanks so much, guys. Stay tuned for the bonus footage, and we'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Bye-bye now. So I wanted to touch on Garret Hobart's birthplace real quick. So just so everyone knows, I've mentioned it, I grew up in a town by the name of Eatontown, New Jersey. Eatontown is literally 5 minutes to not even 10 minutes from Long Branch, New Jersey. It's right next door. So like I said, all of these things were literally right in my backyard. This is... all the Hobart stuff, especially the Long Branch Hobart stuff. Literally, I grew up here from the time I was born until I was about 19 years old. I had no idea. And I was telling Thomas BALCERSKI, growing up in Eatontown, going to public schools, no one ever brought up to us, even when we got a little older, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th grade, no one ever brought up to us. No history teacher or anything ever said, hey, there's a vice president named Garret Hobart that was born like 7 minutes from here. And, he had a house right in Long Branch, and we never heard any of this stuff. So, nor did we really hear about any of the presidents who used to come down and spend summers here in Long Branch, New Jersey. So, definitely, it's very, very cool to me because it's my backyard. So, I want to read this regarding Hobart's birthplace. Garret Augustus Hobart, the 24th Vice President of the United States, was born on June 3rd of 1844 in the village of Long Branch, Monmouth County, New Jersey. The house in which he was born still stands, though somewhat changed in form, on the road leading to Eatontown. His life began in a simple home and plain conditions, while frugality was a necessary virtue in that home. Affection, intelligence, and religion elevated its aspirations. This little child was not born to an inheritance of wealth or station, but to an inheritance for far better, the inheritance of an honorable name, of healthy blood, and of moral instincts. So that's a little bit about Hobart. I found that very cool because it actually mentions Eatontown, New Jersey. It says, on a road on the way to Eatontown, New Jersey. Now, Thomas BALCERSKI and I actually found something where we figured out and found an article that tells us where the Hobart birthplace was. So just to give you an idea, and it says, here's a picture of it. The most famous resident born at the end of the township was Garret Augustus Hobart. The pre-revolutionary house he lived in was built on Broadway, which is today's North Locust Avenue, for Jacob Slocum. In 1841, the house was leased to Addison Hobart, who is obviously Garrett's father. So there you go. It basically says that it was on Broadway in West Long Branch, heading kind of, I guess, toward North Locust Avenue. Now, it's funny, when Thomas and I read the excerpt about on a road leading from Long Branch to Eatontown, me growing up in the area, I actually narrowed it down to 2 roads. And that actually was one of the roads that I narrowed it down to when Thomas and I were exploring. So I ended up being right, which is very cool. So here you go. I'm going to show you. It's actually at 835 Broadway is where we found an article that says that was the address of Garret Hobart's birthplace. So here you go, 835 Broadway, in basically on the border of West Long Branch, and Eatontown. Here you go, Garret Hobart's birthplace. Take a look, pictures and video. Take a look. Hey guys, real quick, so I wanted to read one more quick excerpt from something that actually Thomas BALCERSKI found. Garret Augustus Hobart was born in 1844 at 835 Broadway in a rented house on the western end of Long Branch. He spent his childhood in the town attending the school where his father taught, and he was often seen at the Morford and Company General Store, also located on Broadway. His family eventually moved to Marlboro, New Jersey, where his father opened a general store. Hobart studied law, blah, blah, blah. And then it even goes on to say in this article, while serving with William McKinley, Garret Hobart became ill. He returned to his birthplace to try to gain strength, as others before him had done, from the fresh ocean air and pleasant surroundings. Normanhurst, the home of Norman Monroe, who had made millions selling dime store novels, was offered to Hobart as a place to recuperate. So, not only do we have the birthplace on Broadway, there also was a general store along Broadway somewhere, which obviously is no longer standing, that Hobart spent a lot of time at, as well as a school that he went to as a young boy. So pretty cool stuff. There you go, guys. Thank you. Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History, and let me turn you guys around and show you. So here's Broadway. I am in, technically this is Long Branch. I mean, you're not technically in West Long Branch yet, but this building right here is 835 Broadway. I'm gonna actually cross real quick since I have a second. On the cross, so I'm going to show you guys from this angle. This is the building. It's now looks like a health and wealth place and a little maybe dog grooming type place, but this is the location of supposedly where Garret Hobart was born. So I guess the house stood right here on this corner of Broadway, 835. That's headed toward the ocean down there, Long Branch in the ocean. And then this way on Broadway is heading toward West Long Branch and Eatontown. As it said in the one thing that I read, on a road heading toward Eatontown, which Eatontown is maybe 2 minutes down the road, not even 2 minutes down the road. So, there you go, guys. This is the location, or at least the approximate location, of Garret Hobart's birthplace here in Long Branch, or West Long Branch. So that is current day 835 Broadway. So you gotta figure, even if the numbers are not the same as they once were, it's definitely in this general vicinity somewhere. So that is where our 24th Vice President of the United States was born, Garret Hobart, here, right on the Jersey Shore in Long Branch, New Jersey. Thanks so much, guys. Hey guys, TJ here. So there you go. There's the Hobart birthplace. I'm on the corner of Broadway. And the reason I want to show you this is because I'm going to make a right here at this light. And this is the road. This is Broadway. And this is the road that I was referring to that is leading to Eatontown. So this is one of the roads that I thought it would be. As you also heard in one of my little audios, it mentioned North Locust Avenue. North Locust Avenue is right up here. We're actually going to pass it. We should pass it, actually. But this is the road leading toward Eatontown, New Jersey, where I grew up. So hold on one second. I'm going to pause this. So here you go. There's Locust Avenue there. And then if you go past this light, North Locust Avenue should be right here. That's Homestead Avenue right there. And this is all considered like North Locust right here. So this is exactly what that book in that article was speaking about on the road on the way to Eatontown. Because literally, if you see, this is Route 36. It's a major highway here in New Jersey. When you cross over this road and go straight across this road, you're literally in Eatontown. So that's how close everything is. Just wanted to show you guys that. Thanks, guys. So I just showed you guys the house here in Marlboro, New Jersey that Hobart lived in as a young boy. And then take a look at this. Let me flip you around. And then right next to it, maybe about 50 feet or so away, there you go, Hobart Street. So there's Hobart Street. This is not the street that the house is on. The house is actually on Route 79. But there you go, Hobart Street. Thought that was kind of cool. And, you know, here in Marlboro, New Jersey, Marlboro Township. Pretty cool stuff. So there you go, guys. The house is right up there. You see there, it looks like it's a firehouse that sticks out. The house right next to it with that white sign, that's the house, and there's Hobart Street. So pretty cool stuff. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History. And this house right behind me, let me flip you guys around. So this house right here, well, it's not the same house, obviously, but sorry for the noise. It's a pretty busy road. But as you see, this is the Addison Hobart house, built in 1828. This was once the home of Addison Hobart, a businessman, teacher, postmaster, and commissioner of deeds. His son, Garret Hobart, lived in this house and later entered politics, becoming Vice President of the United States in 1896 under William McKinley. Garret Hobart died in 1899. Marlborough Township Historic Commission. So yes, we are here in Marlborough, New Jersey. And this is the house that Garret Hobart lived in. It's not his birthplace, but this is where he lived as a young boy. He was born in Long Branch, West Long Branch, New Jersey, and then family moved here. And this is the exact address and exact spot of where the house once stood that Garret Hobart lived in and grew up in as a boy. Pretty cool stuff here in Marlborough, New Jersey. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History. And this big building behind me, let me flip you guys around. This is actually the Glenwood Institute. This is the boarding school that Garret Hobart attended. It's here in Matawan, New Jersey, as you can see. The Glenwood Institute, one of the most famous private coeducational schools in the country, had its origin in 1834 as Middletown Point Academy. In 1859, Garret A. Hobart, later Vice President of the United States, was a student here in 1874. Became known as the Glenwood Institute in early 1900s, and the institute became a military academy, closed in 1915. So there you go, guys. This is the boarding school here in Matawan, New Jersey, the Glenwood Institute, that Garret Hobart once attended as a young guy. So pretty cool stuff. The 24th Vice President of the United States, Garret Hobart, attended here at the Glenwood Institute. Pretty cool. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, TJ here with Dead History. Big shock, I'm in a cemetery, right? So let me turn you around and show you where I'm at. So this right here, this beautiful old church, is the old brick Reformed church in Marlborough, New Jersey. And the reason I'm here in this cemetery is because these are the graves of Garret Hobart's parents. Yep, that's right. So here is Addison Hobart, his father. And here is Sophia Hobart, his mother. Very, very cool stuff, obviously. So, yep, Garret Hobart's parents right here. Father, mother. Very cool. Then, you got George Hobart right here. And I got to do a little research on who George actually is. Might even be like a grandfather. Then over here, as you'll see, this is E.V. Hobart. This is actually Garret's brother. This is one. He had two brothers. The other one's buried here too. I'm going to try to find his grave. But this is E.V. Hobart. This is one of Garret's brothers. So you got Garret's brother, you got Garret's father, you got Garret's mother, and then a George Hobart, which, again, I'm not really sure of who that is, but I'll do a little research. So there you go, guys. The Hobart family, Garret Hobart's parents and brother, and I'm going to find his other brother here, hopefully, in this cemetery as well, here at the Old Brick Reformed Church in Marlborough, New Jersey. One other quick thing. I mentioned a little town called Bradevelt or Bradevelt. I'm sure you heard me mention it in part 1. That is basically, this road right here is it's Road 520, County Road 520. This is the little community of Bradevelt. It's basically a little community village in Marlborough, New Jersey. Now, the school that Garret Hobart's father taught at, and so did Garret Hobart, was on the corner somewhere right near here. So the school that Garret Hobart taught at after he graduated from Rutgers, and the school his father taught at, I'm probably looking right at it right now somewhere where it actually once stood. So, pretty cool stuff, guys. Thanks so much. Hey, guys. Old Brick Reformed Church here. Let me turn you around. And this right here is the grave of Garret Hobart's other brother, David Hobart. So there you go. As you can see here, David R. Hobart. So that's David's gravesite. The parents and his other brother are over there. It's kind of on the side of the church. This is the front of the church. And then the parents were over here. And then this is his other brother, David, right here. So there you go. Another one of Garret Hobart's family members. So both his brothers and his parents, all here in this cemetery at the Old Brick Reformed Church in Marlborough, New Jersey. Or if you maybe want to get technical, maybe it was actually considered at one point the Bradevelt or Bradevelt section of Marlborough. So there you go, guys. Thanks so much.